Hey guys, this is number 2 of modifications for the CT125, which is a Honda CT70 tribute bike. Alright guys, for this modification on the CT or the Amigo or on the project bike, I want to lift this fender and I want to bring it up here because I'm putting bigger tires on and they're going to be taller and wider, and I don't want it getting in the way of the fender, so I'm going to move the fender up here. So the first thing I need to do, and it's super cool because right here they've got 2 holes, so I'm actually loosen these up. I'll take these out, and then I have to make 2 new holes. So this, I'm going to have to cut those little brackets off here and then make 2 holes up here that'll mount to here. Now this is rounded, and I can either flatten that out a little bit and just mount it straight there, but it'll probably interfere with this a little bit. So I'm going to put 2 little spacers right there, and I happen to have a selection of spacers. These bolts will need to be longer because they mount up into this little bracket right up in here. So let's see what I've got over here. I know for the 2 screws, I have a selection of, actually got these little kits, I got a bunch of them. Picked them up at Cycle Gear and some other places, so I just need 2 longer ones. Let's see if these are right. And those are longer by about that much, which is probably about the size of the spacer I want, and they are the right thread. And then I have a drawer of all sorts of miscellaneous stuff, and one of these has spacers in it. So I've got big spacers, medium spacers, and small spacers. So I got 2 of these small spacers. I'm going to use 2 of those, and actually that's actually going to work out really perfect. Look at that. So that's identical in length now with the spacer to that screw, so that's going to work perfect. Got some extra washers, and then I've got these little plastic. These came in this kit too, the little plastic ones, and that will protect the fender, the top part of it, from scratching from the washer, so or the spacer, so probably from the spacer. So I'll stick those between the spacer and the fender. Alright guys, if you take a look at this, this is the brace that's inside the fender, and what we just need to do, actually the holes are going to line up perfectly with these 2 holes, so this brace can remain and keep the strength of the fender, which is super cool. And then I'm just going to cut those off with this cutting wheel, and I'm going to cut that side off, that side off, that side off. You could use a hacksaw, something like that, but this is going to go much faster. So I'm going to take care of that, and then we're going to test fit it, and I'm going to show you how the best way to line that up, because it's really easy to line it up with the holes so you don't get it off kilter. Pretty easy to do that measurement. I'm going to show you how to do it really quick. All right guys, that was pretty easy. We took the 2 tabs off, one there, one there. That was super simple. Came right off, nice and clean cut, and then I just sanded down the edges just to make them nice and soft so you don't ever cut your hands on them. And let's see what's next. Let's line up those holes. Let me show you how. All right guys, to line up these holes, I'm just using some blue painter's tape, and then I put a line straight across the fender here, just from this divot to that divot, straight across, that's all. And on the forks, I want to come down here, and you see where these 2 holes are. You're gonna put a piece of tape across those 2 holes tightly, push up on it so you got a dent here and a dent there, and all you need to do is look for the center point. We're gonna measure the center point on that fender and line that up with this right here. Let me show you how that's done really quick. All right, so what I've done now is I've got my tape on here. I marked my center line. This is the center of the fender. I just measure from this side right here all the way over to that side, and then mark the center line. And then if you see this piece of tape here that I put down here, I've got, that's the 1 hole from one side of it, hole from the other side from underneath the fender, and that is the center line. Now all I have to do is line up those 2 center lines, and we have ourselves our marks. 2 holes in our fender, voila, and a helpful hint: if you don't have, if you're having a hard time trying to get that drill started, use your punch. This is a punch, and use this punch and mark your spot so that you can actually drill directly and not have the drill whirl around on on the fender. And if you really want it to go through easily, then turn the fender over after you've made your little punch marks and make them the other direction and just whack it until it goes through. Then you'll have the start of the hole and you can drill right through, and it'll take like a second and a half. And just for stainless steel, that makes it way easier. You won't ruin your bits, and it just drills right through. Anyway, quick tip. All right, guys, that fender is on. Let's take a look. Here we go. And that is the new fender for a high fender. It actually comes awful close to the engine. I actually just tweaked it a tiny bit, so I made sure it wouldn't, you know, touch in any way. But you know, you can always tweak these fenders a little bit. They're very sturdy, but it's, you know, still metal, so you can kind of bend it a little bit. Here's what that looks like from the front. Nice and centered. I think it looks good. And we've got washers underneath to keep it in place. And I put those little washers in here, the little plastic ones, so we wouldn't dent the fender. And then some Loctite up on the top nuts there so that it'll stay on. Cheers, hope that helps.
All right, guys, make sure you stay tuned for the next one. The next one's super helpful because it's going to save a ton of money and make the bike perform way better, and that is those front forks. I got a fix for you coming up next.